my first step ever podcast, and I am Ishani Nigam, your host and producer of the podcast. This podcast is made for all the disruptors around the globe who know that they are made for something, for that one thing, but fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection, the fear of fear itself holds us back at some point in time. But hey, those are the only milestones that if we cross, we are there to take our first steps. So, welcome on this journey with me where I interview people from across the globe so that they can share their story, their challenges, and you know that even you can surpass yours. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's get started. Welcome on my first step ever. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker for today because it is not the debut, but this is the second time I'm going to be having the honor of chatting with this amazing human being. And the most interesting and important thing over here that I would like to share is that my first step ever started with this amazing guest speaker today, Prachi, who is an amazing personal branding enthusiast. She's an expert, communication and marketing expert, and much more than that, that we're going to discover and uncover today. She was here with me on the very first episode. So do check out the first episode if you want to know behind the scenes of how this amazing lady reached where she is today. And from this point, we're going to discuss further her journey, what she's been doing in Australia. But before that, please join me in welcoming Prachi on my first step ever, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Hi, Prachi. Welcome on my first step ever.
Thank you so much, Ishani. Oh my God, it has been a long time coming in. You just told me this is the 121st episode. So, congratulations to you on this amazing podcast.
Thank you. And I would like to mention this over here that I had a very quick chat with Prachi before I had sort of, started off with things that I really liked, which was, making videos and starting podcasts down the line. And it was a really good time for me to chat with Prachi because she's herself an ace content creator and she creates really, relevant, specific, and really noteworthy content. And beyond that, we had a chat and she told me, just go ahead and do what you want to and then see what happens. And I think here I am. So I think she's played definitely a part in my journey. And I like to thank her that she's here. But it's about Prachi. So let me just get to what it's all about before we dig deep into the questions that I have for her today. So passionate about evolving landscape of brand consumer communication and the power of new media to foster connections. Prachi is a marketing strategist with experience in building brand reputation and implementing effective and content marketing strategies. Beyond her professional pursuits, Prachi is a dedicated advocate for personal branding and how. You must definitely check out her LinkedIn profile. She is so consistent. She speaks her mind and she really helps out a lot of international students in Australia and beyond. She finds great fulfillment in connecting with students and inspiring them to build their online presence. As the podcast host of IDP Real Talk, wow, now have you heard about that? Well, we will be talking a bit more about that in this episode too. Prachi has consistently supported international students through insightful conversations, sharing their stories, experiences, and providing valuable guidance in navigating their educational journey in a new country. Now, she's definitely been doing all that, and I'm so glad to know that she has created a platform within a space where she's been, giving her valuable service just specifically for international students in Australia. So, before all this, we kind of want to kind of go back a little and understand where it all started. So, how and when did your journey of helping international students start, Prachi? If you can please take us through that.
Oh, wow, Ishani, that is a lot that we covered. All right, going back to, square one, helping international students definitely came from being an international student myself. That's when it all started. So I think it was probably the first or second semester at Unimel when it's not a new idea, but when I thought that maybe we should have a Humans of Unimel, very much inspired by Humans of New York, which would be such an amazing platform for students to share their, unique inspiring journeys of coming here and studying here. And because I met such amazing international students back when I was studying, our batch had students from all over the world. I thought that this would be a really cool space for students in UniMelb to share their stories. So that's how Humans of UniMelb happened, and I would have to say it was such an amazing project for me, because it also sort of helped future recruiters see what innovative sort of projects that I was working on, and something for me to talk about as well. So when I do meet international students, even today till date, I do talk about how important passion projects are and how they should really have something unique that they can show their recruiters. So it all started, as a student. And I do have to give personal branding credit as well, because that's where, like being so passionate about personal branding, I think Humans of UniMelb was the best way for me to sort of promote other students' stories. So it really worked out. It was a perfect project for me to be working on as a student myself.
Yes, of course. And I like to kind of mention over here that I did find Prachi through LinkedIn before coming to Australia as an international student myself. And I did read one of her blogs that she used to write, and that's how I found her. So, if any one of you who are listening to us, the youth, the disruptors, the ones who want to make a second innings in their life, if you really want to kind of share story, write something, say something, do it in the best medium that you like, but do it. And as
That's
Prachi's,
spot on, Nishani, spot on.
that's exactly what you told me. So I am kind of reiterating that. And I kind of like to mention, if you're wondering, but how did Prachi land here? Please do check out the first episode of My First Step Ever, and you would see the kind of, sea change in where she was and now what she's doing. And there you can get to know more about how she started with humans of Uni Melbourne, and also about her personal branding journey, which is a great, great, great chat and episode if you're really looking for building your personal branding. Now, coming back to what just Prachi mentioned, how she started with, kind of taking that one step ahead of how she can bring all her, I think, strengths, her expertise into a place, and also kind of show herself to the recruiters that how she really stands out, what she can add value even before she could, join them, be in the workforce. So from that journey, when you started off kind of writing, people started kind of reaching out to you, you were sort of helping international students. What did really lead you to, recognize your inner voice and make that big move, the transition from just kind of doing something for a passion, and then kind of taking a job at IDP, which sort of translated into that? How did that journey take place for you?
I think I was super lucky, Ishani, because I started out working as a content coordinator with Choice Hotels, and that kind of opened up the world of different stunning locations all across, Australia and New Zealand, and that was a fun space to be in for 2 years or so. But then I was looking for a challenge, and a recruiter on LinkedIn, Elise, amazing Elise, she reached out, and she had this amazing opportunity with IDP, and I was completely taken, because I already had this sort of familiarity with the brand, because I did use IDP India services to come to
Hmm.
UniMel. And so I was a massive fan of IDP already. So it kind of just
It
like
worked.
made sense. It really did. It really, really did. And it was so, like, as you would say, a full circle moment for me, because that's how my journey started in the first place. And then I ended up working, there. So it really did. It was definitely a little bit of luck in there, a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, it all worked out, and the rest is history. I mean, I did take up the job, and I've been here for more than 2 years now, and it's been so much fun working as a digital content specialist, and it's a really cool space to be in.
Well, that is what I was, kind of getting at, that if you can be at a place for such a long time, it really means that something has worked out for you, and you've really added value to that place, and you've learned a lot from that place. And it's great to see someone being with a brand, being with people that you work with for a long time, in a time where we are kind of sort of, looking for the next opportunity, if something's not really working out. So I think there's lots that goes into it, and I would like to tap into that a little later as well. Probably going ahead from here, I had a quick question, did the things that you worked in your the humans of uni Melbourne, and your personal branding, journey that you had, did that help you over here at IDP during the recruitment process? If yes, how did that help you?
Definitely, Ishani. I think the fact that my sort of background was focusing and highlighting, for one, with this project, Humans in Email, focusing on student stories was a massive one. And I think I could, talk to my recruiter about that and how important it is to highlight people's stories. And so my background was very much, centered around user generated content as well. And so that's sort of where like my thought process is at as a marketer. And that really did help, because having been an international student myself, I could really speak to solve problems of international student, and I definitely do give that credit. Definitely did help me in the long process of getting a role at IDP. And I do have to say it's been so great, only because it's been such an amazing team to work with. And so it really has been like this role where my professional sort of goals synergize with my values as well. So it's really fulfilling.
Exciting. Now, I think the next question that I'm going to ask, it's just probably going to help a lot of people who are listening to us out there, because most in most situations, I'm sort of interviewing a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are kind of freelancing, or doing side gigs, and everyone does that. But everyone lives in a different way, and they have different values, and their choices in life are different. Ultimately, it depends on what success looks like to you and what makes you happy. So for everyone who's really, kind of looking for the job that they can thrive in, that they can give their all, they can be creative, they can elevate the brand that they're working for, or with the people, or create something that you can kind of stick through. So this is the question that I'm going to ask Prachi, because she has really done that. How did your journey in IDP kind of start from there, from the recruitment, and how did you stick through that? I think this is going to be a great kind of a story, a learning for people who are there really looking for that sort of a journey.
Great question, Ashani. I think the industry itself, the education, sort of international education industry, is very interesting. And since I have been an international student myself before, I can relate to others who are in the same position. And so creating content and ideas for them and bringing that to life has been so much fun. And it has been such an interesting space to be in, because I've met so many lovely people to work with at IDP, and having a manager who is excited about your ideas and who says yes to your projects is just so much fun. And so I think I've really been lucky, and I've really enjoyed my time here, because it's just been so many yeses, so many new projects, and so many exciting things to be a part of. And there's, our entire team is always ready and always saying yes, to projects. And I think that's really shown in our results and in our work.
This is great. And I think I want to throw a question at you over here, because I think a lot of people might have that in their mind, because I have it right now. For instance, in a situation where people are in a role, working in a job where they have a good team, and sometimes not everything is, aligned in a way, not everyone's thinking the same way. Given that you're in a situation where the team looks like everyone is aligned, and you have that confidence to go up and present your work, pitch your ideas, if someone really wants to do that, first of all, how should they kind of approach that situation to pitch their idea to their managers? And the second follow-up question is, if it doesn't work out, how do you work around things?
That's really insightful questions right there. Okay, so I would say, I think the first thing to do when you have a role, I think the first thing to do is master that role. So, go through your position description, why you were hired, all the projects that you're involved in. I think the number one thing to do is excel at those things. Because that's why you were hired, right? That's number one. Number two, you are acing everything, you're getting results, you are doing what you were hired for, that's great. But then what are your ideas? Surely you have some innovative ideas. You might, it might be a small one, it might be a big one, but you might have ideas that you want to share with your manager. Having that open two-way conversation with your manager is so important, because that's where growth is. And if you have an amazing manager, there's nothing more better than that. So the second thing is definitely having the courage to go up to them and talking to them about your ideas and pitching your ideas to them. Third is basic. If not, if it's not being supported, what do you do then? Well, I would just say, another way to look at it is to build a case around the new ideas that you may have, how it supports the business, would do in terms of results. I think there's a lot of things that you can do to build your case if someone's not able to see your point of view. At the end of the day, I think it's a good conversation to have, whether it goes forward or not, because it shows initiative and it shows that you're happy to take ownership and accountability for a new project. And I think that says a lot about you. So go for it. I would definitely, yeah, that would be my advice.
Incredible, incredible. I really like. I mean, this advice that you kind of shared, the first part of it should be like really clear, and like sort of people should really understand like on their own. But it's really nice that you have put words to it and kind of put it out there that excel at your own job first. And I think that's where a lot of us do miss that thing. Once you get in a job, most of us, not all of us, we kind of feel that okay, we are here, what's next, not trying to seeing that have we done enough with the role that we already are at, which is amazing. So from here, I think we're going to go to the next journey, which was your journey when you have already excelled in your role. And here you come with a new project, new idea, which is extremely exciting for IDP, which is an IDP Real Talk, a podcast by hosted and sort of created by Prachi Tyagi. You over here, how did you approach with that idea? Where to your manager, and yes, then we like to know a bit more about that after this.
No, IDP Real Talk for international students is such an amazing project, and it's basically our team's passion project. So it's my manager Emily, our producer Damien, and myself as the host. We basically took it on us to answer some of the most popular questions,
Wow.
things that international students want to know about. So this is all about real experiences, real stories, and what it's really like to be living in Australia. And this is for students who are either coming here or who are already here. And it really features, experts, influencers in the space, former and current international students who share their raw stories and, raw experiences of studying here and living here and settling down here and having a career here. So it's really that special sort of marketing tool for us to sort of create for international students who are coming here. And I think this is going to be so useful for anybody who listens to it. And it's an exciting space, definitely, because we've had students from Vietnam, from Indonesia, from India, from China. It's just been such a fabulous project to be working on.
I can't agree more. Reason being, when I was back in India planning to sort of make my move to Australia for my higher studies, IDP was definitely on my mind, and I had a kind of a chat with them and counseling. And now that I hear that there is a dedicated podcast platform where all the questions and queries have been answered and in the most real and raw form, because you're actually inviting people who have been through that. It's not happening via someone, or it's the news is the information is just direct. And you mentioned a component which is very exciting. Firstly, kudos to your team and to yourself for kind of starting something like that, because it is really needed. I'm sure people who are listening to us, international students who are willing to come to Australia, or even if kind of want to know a little bit more about how is it to be in Australia, being an international student. And people are from various age range, different phases in their life, points in their life. They do come to Australia to do their higher studies, or maybe bachelor's or second masters. There's different range that we have. and sort of covering them, being able to, go through their story at different stages. It's really important. So over here, I like to kind of understand. You mentioned something that you answer the questions that people most ask questions. How does that process take place? If someone who's listening to us, they have a question, they really want to kind of reach out to you, where do they really kind of, ask the question?
So amazing places that you can find us and reach out to us or our social media channels. So you have IDP Australia on Instagram, you have us on Facebook and TikTok, and also the podcast itself, Ishani, like people can comment on Spotify. And we mostly get our questions from Instagram and Facebook at the moment, but also so many students are responding to our newsletters with things that they want to listen about, all the topics that they want us to cover. There's so many things around PR that we're getting now, gearing up for the next season. So we have like a list of topics that we need to cover, and so we're always looking forward to students coming up and telling us what they want to hear about. So, reach out to us anywhere on social media, and we will be, you'll be hearing from us soon.
This is incredible. I mean, if you have such kind of, response pouring out from like everywhere, that really means that people are listening to it. It is doing well. It is reaching the hearts and mind of the people that you're really making this for. And only once you have such kind of, response, questions coming in, it means that you're actually creating content that serves the purpose, which is great. So, Prachi, I want to, because now that you have gone through this journey of creating a podcast, sharing the stories out there, I kind of want to ask from the first steps perspective. How was your experience, starting a podcast? What was your challenges and what you really loved doing in this?
Wow. I will have to be completely honest with you, Ishani. It is not fun listening to your own voice. For me, it
Yes.
is.
Yeah. Not at all.
It's not fun. It's overrated. So I don't think anybody likes to hear their own voices. So that's a given. So that was a little bit of getting used to, but also my team, we worked on editing the episodes together, and we kind of went on this journey of finding out what works for us and what doesn't. And I think it was a learning in the process. I think we've come out well prepared for more episodes to come. But yeah, the podcast has been so much fun, especially because you hear so many different stories from different students, and it's really unique to each one of them, and everybody has a different take on their experience coming to Melbourne, for instance, or just coming to Australia, and this being their first ever experience, and how they grew and how they made friends and how they looked for part-time opportunities, and how they are building a career here. So it's really really interesting, and I would really recommend this to anybody who's looking to build a life here.
Wow, it just took me back to, those initial years for myself over here in Melbourne, when I was in Melbourne, and how it all started with for me. I'm sure, it's going to be such an interesting listen for anyone who's yet not here, and even who are in the transition period. They will be here soon. There's always a joy in listening to others' story, but there's always a really important, I think, place in everyone's heart for their own stories as well, which we don't realize because a lot of us don't kind of sit back, reflect, and see how far we have come. So, and I really want to kind of, say kudos to you on that, because you have come a long way, and you have not just kind of come alone. You have taken a lot of people with you, a lot of international students present, or maybe potential, and even who are already here. So you have really helped that community a lot. And what really outshines that you have stuck through, which is important. So anyone who's listening to us today, the youth, the disruptors, people who want to maybe, start something again in their life, do something more. If this really resonates with you, I think the one takeaway that I have from Prachi's journey is that stick through things that you really believe in whatever shape or form. And that's what I see, a journey for Prachi that started off with, writing, content, being acing her own role, and then being a creator with her fellow amazing colleagues in her, the journey that she's in with IDP, creating a tool that really helps a lot of other people. So that's incredible, Prachi. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. I would really like to ask you, what has been your top three learnings, being an international student, if I can put it that way?
Oh, wow. Okay. So my top threes. Number one, I think that sometimes, when you take that first step, you could fail. There's very much a potential of failing, but it is so important to be patient. And I think that's the number one thing for any international student that's coming here, starting a new life in a new city. Patience, persistence is so important. Number two, I think that you always need to be open to learning new things, and there is absolutely nothing that is too small or too big of a task. I think that's the attitude of an international student. And then the third one is getting involved. I think saying yes to opportunities that may come your way. So it could be anything. And I just think that having the attitude of saying yes to things is a big one.
Amazing. I have been hearing that a lot. I think it's sort of a sign for me. Maybe I have to say yes to a lot of things I feel if they come my way. So, for everyone who's listening to us today, this is a real talk on my first step ever today with Prachi from IDP Real Talk. If you are in that position, you've been trying to kind of navigate your way, you have so many questions bubbling in your head, I am definitely going to leave the link of the podcast and a lot more that even about Prachi. Do check her LinkedIn, because I think she's been doing really amazing stuff with her personal brand herself. And it gives a real pleasure, when you see someone as real as Prachi, to, from the beginning to where she has reached, and it inspires you a lot, for me personally, in my journey as well. So thank you so much, Prachi, for being on my first step ever, taking us through your amazing journey, being a creator and loving the people around you and helping them. Before we take your leave, I always request my guest speakers to leave our listeners with a quote or a saying that they resonate with.
Ishani, you won't be surprised at all, because my favorite quote, you will be like, oh, okay, I get it now. Prachi loves that. Okay, that's all. But like, I have to tell you, my my favorite quote is, if not now, then when? Just do it today. Just, start that passion project. Say yes to that opportunity. It's just, there's no tomorrow. I think we need to have that sense of urgency.
I love that. And it is so true. I think once you start living your life where you have to take things in your hand, you understand how important is to take action rather than just thinking. And, kind of, I mean, definitely planning is important, but the next stage of planning is doing it. So thank you so much, Prachi, for being on my first step ever. It's a pleasure having you over here. Would you like to say some parting words on my first step ever today?
Shani, I have seen you grown from, the first episode. I can say that because it's true. I've seen you grow from the first episode, and still remember meeting you here. And it's just been so amazing getting to know you. And I do think that you are such an inspiration to other international students who come here and who want to start their own project as well. And I think that you are such, I would say that you're an amazing example that I give students all the time, and I think that you stand out from the crowd, and I'm really proud of the work that you're doing. And I think I'll see you back after like 500 episodes. I'll see you again.
I hope we meet a lot sooner, because I'm sure you will be kind of creating a lot more stuff. I know that. Thank you, Prachi. That was very kind. That was very kind of you to say that. And to all my listeners out there, as I always say, start believing in yourself and keep believing in yourself. See you soon. Until next time, stay happy. If you're still glued together on this episode, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And if you really want to hear more such stories from around the globe, then subscribe to my First Step Ever podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google, and Spotify, whichever platform you prefer. Please do give ratings and please do write your comments. And you can directly reach out to me on my first step ever _IN. That's my Instagram handle. A little about myself. I have always loved performing on stage, acting, speaking, and just emoting myself. So I use these medium different ways so that I can connect with people, help them, empower them, infotain them, which is to inform them and entertain them. If you would like to collaborate for any opportunities, more than welcome to connect with me on my Instagram handle. Thank you.